here with jewelry maker Mary Hettmansperger, and I was going to say, you have made not just jewelry, you have made these amazing Calder-inspired mobiles.
They're kind of bigger jewelry.
I was going to say, they're magical jewelry for your ceiling.
Yeah, they're very fun, and it's so much fun to take items and things and even parts and pieces of jewelry, kind of what I'm working on today. Let me tell you how I get these started.
Yeah.
I usually start from the items. So depending on what I'm picking up, depends on how I'm going to attack it. So a lot of these smaller things are very fun to play with, and that's what I'm going to show you today. Is I've got actually a lot of pieces that have side drills, some that have front drills with the holes, and some pieces don't have any kind of holes. And you can use a variety of wires. You can even use fishing line if you want to hang them from, or even a linen. But for the main structure of the piece, I usually start with wire. So I'm going to show you how to do a side drill, which is kind of a fun looking little piece. And I take a hammer here. This is just a steel wire, and I'm going to create like a paddle. And
so obviously you're working on top of a dapping block or just a big heavy piece of metal.
Yeah, it's a nice little bench block, and and what I'm doing is I'm creating, basically so that this won't pull through, I'm creating a little bit of a paddled area. I'm going to cut this side.
And trim it down. We want to make sure the wire doesn't fly.
Yeah, that always is a problem.
Now, I'm a little bit nervous about hammering so close to the bead, so I just want to look at your setup here for a second. You have the bead
Yeah, you want to make sure that it's off the side, right. And I choke up on this hammer so I have a lot more control. And actually, let me show you what this does. This will actually be a little bit more stable here.
So you just...
Now, steel wire, it takes a little...
I was going to say, it's very stable because you have a ring here which attaches it to the table so it doesn't slide, as opposed to on the paper where it was unable to attach.
So now what I've got is I've got two paddles, so it's not going to slide out of there. I can take a piece of now like an 18 gauge. So this steel wire is actually quite thick, and it's called rebar wire, and they use it for more...
I think they use it for fencing?
Fencing, right.
I was going to say.
So I'm going to take the ends of this. I'm going to create a nice natural sort of shape and come in here. So this piece of wire that I started with was probably, I don't know, 7, 8 inches.
I noticed, by the way, when you're creating that nice curve, you actually sort of curve it almost past where it needs to go.
And now I'm going to wrap it solid. And the reason you want it longer is because then you can get a hold of it.
Now, you're not even using a tool. You're just using your hands.
Well, but like I said, the main reason I can do that is because I can get a hold of it.
Because it has enough of a tail.
Right, right.
It's not that it's so...
Now you said that, now I'm having trouble. Of course.
I jinxed you, I'm sorry.
But you can.
But if you needed to use a tool,
you can
what
totally
are you using
I'm
then?
going to use a needle nose pliers.
And just go ahead and grab that around.
Yep, and then grab it again. And so you wrap it there, and then you can cut it.
And you always want to use wire snips that are specifically designed for cutting wire, and you don't want to use scissors or something like that.
And these are real good. They're a lot stronger. Also, you can hammer, if you want, you can hammer the end of it just to give it a little bit more strength. But this wire is strong enough. It really doesn't need to be work hardened.
For people who haven't done a lot of wire work, do you want to just mention that what work hardening is while you...
Work hardening would be hammering it, just so that it you know, and now we've got the swing. Just remember, when you're making a mobile, or even jewelry for that matter, the more connections you have, the more movement you're going to have. So with this now, if I came in and I did what's just called a wrap loop, and took it like this, made a loop to connect, then all of a sudden, you have much more movement.
Now, to get that movement, does it mean you're wrapping loosely? Does it mean you're not choking up?
No, it means there's more connections.
Okay, so actually doing very tight or very loose wouldn't matter for the movement.
Would not matter. It's just a different look. So what's going to happen is that not only does it move, you know, this way, but now it's going to move this way, which is nice. So once I get some of these little pieces and parts put together, and I can show you a real quick wrap too with steel wire, and I always start out with the same sort of paddle.
And also, this is great for objects that don't have a hole, because like I love to pick up stones and glass from the beach.
Absolutely. And this you know, you can drill, and if you drill with a diamond bit drill underwater, and there's instruction on that, different places. This is really hard wire, so you have to be really kind of careful not to break your item.
I was going to say, but it's really low tech if you don't want to drill.
If you don't want to drill,
of wrap
exactly,
around it.
Exactly. So this is just a nice, easy, and you can see where I'm going with this.
I can. You're gonna just close that piece in, but I'm assuming in order to keep it inside, do you have to come across the bottom, or you can really just wrap it around?
This wire is so strong.
Wow. I was sure
strong.
you were gonna have to come the opposite direction to hold it in.
No, and then I can do the same sort of jewelry technique, making a wrapped loop on the top. And like you said, loose wire, it doesn't matter. I can make this very loose, very organic looking, or I can tighten it up.
So now, how do we connect all of these different pieces for the mobile?
So when I'm connecting, the one thing I like to do is I do like to use jump rings. And the reason is because, once again, it gives you one more little bit of movement. So on jump rings, I'm going to take and open it up and slide it. You don't want to open up a jump ring and then lose the connection. So I put these on.
And I notice you're using a copper jump ring with the steel wire, and it's a nice combination of colors.
It is, it is. And let me actually, while I'm doing that, I'll just connect it here.
So you have a bar right there.
And I did that exactly the same way. I've been doing all these connections with those little wrap loops.
So it's just a piece of wire with 2 wrapped loops, and now you're easily able to attach both of those on there.
Now, the last thing you really need to do before you get ready to think about is that this is where it gets fun, is you can kind of say, okay, right in here is where I need to have now the place where it's going to connect to the next one.
Because you found the balancing point, so it's not going to be in the center depending on the weight.
Right, and that's the fun part, is that then you've got this really interesting looking, you know, way more organic sort of shape going on. It's not all exact.
So if we look back at the finished one, I can see here, or both of these mobiles, that some sides have very long, some are very short, but it's a really eclectic collection of objects that are all beautifully balanced.
And then when you put it together, this is where you connect it up.
So cool, Mary.
It's fun.
Thank you.
It's fun.